We've got a massive stack of sources for you today. Biographies from Plutarch, military histories of the Roman Republic, and some pretty heavy modern political analysis.
Yeah, there is a lot to get through.
There really is.
Yeah.
Because we are looking at a figure who is arguably the absolute pivot point of all Roman history. The man who saved Rome from total annihilation. But, in doing so, accidentally built the exact machine that would destroy the Republic.
It is the ultimate historical case study of the law of unintended consequences. Yeah. We are talking about Gaius Marius.
Right. And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how one practical decision, literally just the change in how you hire soldiers, can eventually topple a government. But to get there, we really have to unpack the man himself, because he wasn't your typical Roman politician.
No, not at all. He was a novus homo, a new man.
Meaning he was the first in his family to serve in the Senate. He didn't have the famous last name or the generational wealth. He was born in Arpinum, way outside the city.
And the sources describe him as rough, unpolished. He reportedly refused to learn Greek because he thought it was the language of slaves and soft men.
He definitely had a massive chip on his shoulder regarding the nobiles. That tight circle of aristocrats who ran the show. He felt they were soft, and they felt he was a peasant.
Right, he had to fight for every inch of respect. Though, looking at the family tree here, he made one incredibly strategic move early on. He married a woman named Julia.
Which seems like a footnote until you realize Julia is the aunt of Julius Caesar.
Exactly. Marius is literally the uncle by marriage to the man who eventually finishes what Marius started.
That marriage gave him just enough legitimacy to challenge the elites when the Jugurthine War in North Africa turned into a total disaster.
And that war is crucial context. The sources paint a picture of just total incompetence by the Roman aristocracy. They were allegedly taking bribes from the enemy king Jugurtha, just dragging the conflict out for years.
It exposed the moral rot of the Senate. So Marius does something unprecedented. He basically says, the elites are corrupt losers, I can win this. And he bypasses the Senate entirely.
He goes straight to the People's Assembly to vote him the command, which is a very dangerous constitutional precedent.
He used the mob to override the government. But here is the catch. Once he got the command, he hit a logistical wall. Rome was running out of soldiers.
This is the aha moment of the deep dive. Traditionally, you had to own land to be in the army. The idea was that if you owned a farm, you had something to lose. You fought for Rome because you were Rome.
But the wars had been going on so long that the manpower pool of landowning citizens was dry. So Marius looks at the census and sees the capite censenti.
Those counted by head.
The landless poor, right?
Right. The people with zero property. Marius ignores the ancient property requirement and just recruits them.
On the surface, that looks like a great democratization move, or, just pragmatic. But looking at the analysis here, this is the poison pill for the Republic.
Because think about the incentives. These new soldiers don't have a farm to go back to. They are fighting for a paycheck. And who signs the check?
The general.
Exactly. And when they retire, they need land. Who gets them that land? The general, usually by bullying the Senate.
Suddenly, their loyalty shifts from the abstract idea of the Republic to the specific man commanding them.
He inadvertently turned the army into a private client base. He also professionalized them. We see the term Marius's mules in the notes because he made them carry their own heavy gear to move faster.
He created a cohesive, loyal, professional force. He gave them the Silver Eagle, the Aquila, as the soul of the legion. He forged a weapon that was efficient, loyal, and incredibly dangerous.
And initially, that weapon saved civilization. The Cimbri and Teutones, these massive Germanic tribes, were coming to wipe Rome off the map.
And Marius completely annihilated them.
He becomes the third founder of Rome. He gets elected consul 5 years in a row, which was totally illegal, by the way. But the people were so terrified of invasion, they just let him rule.
But you can't stay on top forever, especially when you have a subordinate like Sulla rising through the ranks.
Lucius Cornelius Sulla, the ultimate aristocrat. He had actually captured King Jugurtha back in Africa, and he felt Marius stole the credit.
That resentment festered for years until it blew up into the First Civil War. And it gets incredibly dark here. Marius goes from the hero of the Republic to this paranoid, vengeful old man.
There is that cinematic moment where he is fleeing Sulla's purge, hiding in the marshes of Minturnae.
It is straight out of a movie. He is covered in mud, captured, and the town sends a slave into a dark room to execute him.
And Marius just glares at him and shouts, "Do you dare to kill Gaius Marius?"
And the slave couldn't do it. The sheer force of personality.
But when he finally returns to Rome for his 7th and final consulship, the hero is gone. He unleashes a reign of terror, purging the aristocrats and settling old scores with blood. He died just days into that term.
Leaving behind a completely broken system.
That is the tragedy. Marius solved the immediate crisis. He found soldiers to save Rome from the barbarians.
But by letting the landless pour into the army, he created the private armies that Sulla and later Caesar and Augustus would use to strangle the Republic.
It is a harsh lesson in short-term fixes versus long-term stability. Efficiency came at the cost of the Constitution.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. How often do pragmatic solutions to today's immediate crises become the structural flaws that destroy the system decades later? Thanks for listening to this deep dive.